The call to prayer had not yet rippled over Cairo's rooftops when Noor Hassan pushed through the padlocked gate of the disused Museum of Egyptian Antiquities Annex. The sky still carried the indigo of night, but a pale stripe on the eastern horizon hinted at sunrise. Street lamps flickered and sputtered behind her, their sodium glow too weak to follow her through the archway and into the shadowed courtyard. The rumors had reached the newsroom 2 weeks ago. A custodian on the government payroll claimed that at dawn, the hieroglyphic friezes in the annex's crumbling temple of Sobek didn't merely glow. They moved. The man swore that crocodile-headed Sobek strolled across the western wall, that rowers dipped invisible oars, that ink, decades dry, relifified and began to flow again. Noor's editor had laughed the story off until a second witness, a night guard with no connection to the custodian, told an almost identical tale. Noor did not believe in marvels. She had won her reputation at Al-Kahira Voice, skewering political hoaxes, exposing rigged charity raffles and dismantling conspiracy theories with meticulous public records requests. She packed skepticism the way soldiers packed pistols, ever ready and cold steel under any smile. The Waking Wall story, she told her editor, was either a marketing stunt or the malingering of 2 men overworked and underpaid. She accepted the assignment mainly to prove it and add another debunk to her growing list. She stepped beneath a sagging lintel into the temple hall. Her flashlight caught flurries of dust that danced like startled fireflies. 8 columns, lotus-headed and cracked, marched toward a raised sanctuary. Above them ran a continuous register of hieroglyphs. Falcons, anchors, reed boats, papyrus thickets, and the eternal river of phonetic signs. A faint scent of wet stone wafted from the walls, though the hall had been sealed for 60 years. Noor planted her tripod and tapped her phone camera awake. 6:21, she narrated, the microphone capturing her breath. No sign of movement or luminescence. She panned deliberately, each column sliding through the frame like a giant vertebra. Skeptic or not, she knew her footage had to be impeccable. Nothing invited ridicule faster than a shaky conspiracy clip. The first tremor reached her ears rather than her eyes. A papery rustle, as if someone riffled the pages of a colossal book. Something flicked in the periphery. She wheeled her light toward the south wall. One painted arm, she could swear it extended farther than its outline allowed, wrenching itself free of static pigment. A second arm emerged, joined to the painted torso of a scribe who moments earlier had been etched flat against sandstone. The scribe leaned out, quill poised, a bead of liquid black ink forming on its tip. Noor's heart refrigerated itself. Impossible, she thought. Projection? No projectors. All dark. She zoomed. The scribe's quill touched text already burned into stone, tracing the glyphs for to record and to remember. As the sun breached some unseen threshold outside, every figure on the frieze inhaled. Boats rippled forward, servants hoisted offerings, a procession advanced in stately cadence. Colours brightened, fresh as if mixed that morning, and a subdued music, flutes and frame drums breathed from nowhere. The tableau unfolded chronologically. The birth of Pharaoh Ahmose, his campaigns against the Hyksos, the dedication of crocodiles to Sobek, the weighing of the pharaoh's heart in the Hall of Maat. Noor watched, spellbound. The journalist in her scrambling to collect more angles, annotations, timestamps. She shot a burst of stills, muttering automatic captions. Sunrise animation begins 6:24. Scribe appears to write new text directly over original inscription. A dozen minutes passed before her rational side regained command. She crouched beneath the register, examining the surface with the flashlight's white wedge. No holographic mesh, no transparent LED layer, no hidden speakers. The sandstone was ordinary, chipped and dusty, until the moving figures slid into view, when it became a window punched through time. She backed away, nearly tripping on a coil of extension cord abandoned decades prior. When she steadied the light again, the last sequence was beginning. A falcon headed, with the crown of Upper Egypt, perched above a group of scribes. One scribe pointed at Nerno, not her, she insisted. The figure was probably addressing another painted official. Yet the accusatory line of the brush met her eyes across 35 centuries. The scribe's quill scratched fresh hieroglyphs. They glistened wet. Noor, who had minored in Egyptology before turning to journalism, read the marks automatically. "The writer of questions?" she whispered, and her stomach constricted. "Shall die at sunset, beneath the red sails." The air compressed. A boundary she had relied on her entire adult life, between the factual and the fantastic, shifted a centimeter. Enough that she felt vertigo. Her phone, still filming, captured her own face paling in the reflection of its lens. She reminded herself prophecies were literary devices, metaphors carved to frighten enemies or impress priests. Yet the ink on stone still gleamed moist. The hall dimmed. One by one, the animated figures slowed, stiffened, and latched back into inert bas-relief as the sunlight matured from pastel to full gold. By 6:47, the entire wall lay silent. The newest line the prophecy remained strikingly dark, as though carved yesterday. Nur killed the recording, backed up the file to 3 cloud drives, and paced the nave, breath sharp. Sunset came at 18:03 today. She had roughly 12 hours. Her schedule included an interview at 17:30 on a restaurant felucca whose marketing photographs boasted distinctive crimson lateen sails. The coincidence jolted her, though she chided herself. Cairo hosted 100 red-sailed boats. Statistical noise. She could do what any investigative journalist would. Test the claim, board the felucca, ride the Nile at sunset, prove her survival on camera, and publish. But testing a prophecy predicting your own death held a flavor of madness even she found unpalatable. Instead, she dialed Dr. Walid Mahran, emeritus curator at the main museum and her former epigraphy professor. By 9:30, she sat in his cluttered office, the walls stacked shoulder-high with ostraka and water-stained catalogue folders. Walid studied the photographs she'd transferred. "No variant like this exists in published corpora," he murmured, finger hovering above the falcon. "But the hand is authentic. Whoever painted it, this is New Kingdom layering on Middle Kingdom limestone. An impossible palimpsest." Noor explained the animation. Walid's expression tightened from disbelief to professional awe to paternal worry. "If what you saw is genuine," he said, "then the text is not static. The wall is a living manuscript." "Then I revise it," Noor declared. The logic sprang fully formed. If a wall could write her death, perhaps she could write her survival. "You taught me every hieratic shortcut in grad school. All I need is ink." Walid's voice lowered. "One doesn't casually emend sacred narrative. There are protocols." The opening of the mouth, the 4 waters. "I have 8 hours," she replied. "I'll improvise." Traffic thickened outside. A taxi horn bellowed like a mistuned saxophone. Noor left the museum, paranoia tailing her up every curb. Crossing Talathabt Square, a scaffolding plank snapped overhead. Bricks rained down, grazing her sleeve. Workers shouted apologies. Later, a bus veered onto the sidewalk where she'd passed seconds earlier. Coincidence remained plausible, but it frayed at the edges. Each close call sprouted another feather on the falcon of prophecy. At 14:05, she cancelled the felucca interview, inventing a migraine, and returned to the annex with a messenger bag stocked with bottled ink, reed pens, and powdered ochre. Clouds had gathered, bruising the sun. Inside the temple hall, the freezers lay inert, but the newly inscribed doom line still looked disturbingly fresh. She set her tripod again, activated live stream purpose, unlisted, and leveled the camera on the falcon. First attempt. She dipped a reed in carbon ink and daubed the stone directly. The liquid beaded and rolled off. Repelled as though the lithic surface bore an oil coating, she tried scratching gently with a scalpel. The blade skittered without leaving a groove. The prophecy resisted like tempered glass. She exhaled, recalling Waleed's mention of protocols. The opening of the mouth ceremony, meant to revive statues so they could receive offerings, consisted of 26 spoken formulas. She found a translation on her phone and recited, "I open for you your mouth. I open for you your eyes, that you may speak with the gods and see the living." Her voice echoed small, a sparrow inside an empty cistern. Nothing. Outside, thunder grumbled. She crouched, elbows on knees. Logic suggested abandoning the temple and sheltering in a well-lit coffee shop until after sunset, but survival, purchased by flight, felt brittle. Tomorrow another prophecy might bloom, and flight might fail. The only robust defense was to rewrite the text itself. She ran her fingers across the reed boats carved 2 meters left of the Falcon. Their paint had faded to pastel, but the incisions remained. An idea struck. Perhaps the story operated as a contiguous reel. Insert a new scene, and it could override subsequent frames as film editors splice narrative to redirect endings. She selected a blank column between boat and falcon and dipped the reed in ochre mixed with water from her bottle. "Better to ask forgiveness," she muttered, and began sketching a cartouche. Her own name in phonetics, N-W-R, followed by a determinative of a seated scribe. Below it she copied the glyph for "to overturn fate," a knotty sign found in magical papyri. Her strokes quivered. Sweat made the reed slippery. Ink adhered. The ochre soaked willingly into stone where the doom line had repelled. Encouraged, she continued, composing hastily. "The writer of questions shall witness the fall of red sails and live to recount what she has seen." She underlined the last verb twice for emphasis. When she stepped back, nothing moved. She felt foolish until the air temperature shifted, a warm front sliding across her cheeks. Though the hall was windowless, the reed boats shimmered, their prows creaking. One painted rower turned, acknowledging her with a nod so subtle it might have been imagination. Then the prophecy itself wavered. The phrase, "shall die," smudged like wet newsprint caught in rain. Letters quivered, collapsed into runnels of darkness that soaked into the grooves and evaporated. In their place swelled the 3 strokes denoting plural men and the word "shall live." Nor's gasp broke into a short laugh that surprised her. She filmed every second. The frieze settled. The wall again looked ages old. But ink stains under her fresh text glowed as if lit from within, humming with after-images. She checked the time, 16:40. Rain hammered the annex's corrugated roof. She killed the live stream, packed hurriedly and sprinted into the street. Water pooled ankle-deep, gutters gushed toward the Nile. Felucca, she realized, might indeed be imperiled tonight. Her rewritten line promised she would witness the fall of red sails. Witness, not prevent. Yet she could not stand by if lives were at risk. Taxi ranks had emptied, drivers sheltering from the downpour, so she jogged the embankment on foot, skirt plastered to her legs. Lightning flickered violet behind the citadel. At 17:22, she spotted the restaurant Felucca moored at Garden City, canvas sails lashed but still a deep crimson, gorgeous against pewter clouds. 2 deckhands argued while fastening extra lines. Diners milled beneath the awning, debating whether to cancel their dinner cruise. Nur shouted a warning that the storm would intensify. The manager, recognizing her press badge, ushered her aboard to explain. She skimmed the forecast on her phone. Wind gusts climbing, small craft advisory. "Cancel," she urged. "Tonight the Nile will flip you like a coin." Skepticism met skepticism. The manager doubted her credentials to predict weather. At 17:55, a bolt of lightning struck the far bank, jarring even doubters. The manager relented, ordering passengers ashore. Crew scrambled, and in that scramble a mooring line slipped. The Felucca lurched. Wind caught one half-raised red sail, ballooning it. The vessel slewed perpendicular to the pier, snapped its aft line and spun downstream. Crew still aboard hollered. Noor's stomach dropped. To witness might mean from within. She seized a dangling hawser, leapt and landed on the slick deck as the last plank's width of pier vanished. The river was a heaving slate highway, hushed by rain. The skipper wrestled to the tiller. Another hand fought to reef the rogued sail. It tore with a sound like temple stone splitting, cloth surrendering in two jagged wings. Red shreds flogged the mast as the felucca heeled. Water flooded starboard gunwale. Noor threw her weight against a ballast crate, shoving it port side to counterbalance. Others copied. Wind howled downriver. The felucca careened toward a pontoon meant for tourist barges. Impact seemed inevitable until the torn sail finally shredded free. Releasing pressure, momentum slowed. The hull kissed the pontoon with a crunch, but did not breach. Ropes flew across gaps. Hands caught them, secured them. 10 seconds passed before Noor exhaled. She was drenched, shaking, alive. Red canvas tatters flapped overhead, sails fallen, yes, but she had survived to witness. By 1806, 3 minutes after theoretical sunset, passengers now safe on shore applauded the crew's courage. Paramedics patched a sailor's sprained wrist. No worse injuries emerged. Noor stood aside, rain sluicing rivulets down her hair, and reviewed the prophecy's wording in her mind. Not one syllable off. That night, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, she typed her article. She omitted none of it. The animation at dawn, the death sentence glyph, her reckless editorial intervention, the storm, the torn red sails. Co-workers reading the draft would assume metaphor or hallucinatory embellishment. Let them. She embedded the live stream link, marked private. Anyone searching hard enough could see proof. Before dawn, insomnia drove her back to the annex. Clouds had drained away, leaving the sky crystalline. She slipped inside the temple at 5:38. In the grey pre-light, the hall whispered. When the first beam of day pierced the eastern slit, every glyph inhaled. Rowers dipped oars. Sobek loped along the marsh. And there, new, unmistakable, stood a painted woman in modern jeans, reed pen in hand, placing fresh words upon limestone while a falcon watched, amused. She laughed, an echo the stones accepted. History, it seemed, had room for addenda. Knowing that, she raised her phone, but then lowered it again. Some stories deserved to survive only in memory and myth, cut in pigment and dawn light, rewriting themselves forever, as long as Cairo had breath enough to see.